So tell us, Arsena, what are your opinions about what's been happening on the server with God stuffs as we've been as your character Arsena as she's been sort of involved with Jishrim and sort of things like that. Give us a little bit of insight on how that sort of stuff is going around.
Well, it's really interesting, especially to see God stuff on other characters away from Ericina. But recently, with the entire storyline that started with Rahas, or I think that's how you say it, it's just really fun to see the different gods and how they're interacting and sort of their doctrines being played out through other characters and their players. I don't know. It's just fun to just kind of sit back and see as well as participate in it as well.
It really is, yeah. It's pretty interesting on how all of these things are sort of tying together with the new lore coming in and all these new sort of ideas and um, these new cultures and all just these great discussions that are happening and these new and the divines being so interactive and these new events that are coming, the emergence campaign that's happening right now. It's all very interesting for the server, and I really think that the roleplay is flourishing quite a bit and sort of it's very diverse and the story arcs are fantastic, and I think you both would agree with me on that.
Yeah,
Yes, very
absolutely.
much so.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit more about server news and sort of what's been going on around the server on the technical side and more with what's been going on in the forums and in game a little bit. So currently we have the player of the months, which have been happening, which is a great thing. A lot of people, we've gotten great positive responses from that. I also would like to highlight that Niah here was our um, March player of the month. Apologies. Um, and there was we get submissions from the players, and the staff looks over them. So tell us what you think about the players of the month and all that. And maybe you'd like to thank the community a little bit, Naya, for your award, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really surprised to get it. First of all, thanks everyone for doing nominations for everyone. It's a really great thing. It's just really nice to see the positivity, and just encouraging other players to be positive as well. So I think it's a really great addition to the server, and I really hope it continues. And I hope the nominations continue to roll as well because it's a really great thing.
Agreed.
Okay. And there's been some new things happening around the server. It feels like every day there's just tons of stuff that's happening. I'm looking through the forums right now just trying to find some new things, and it's like I find thousands of threads. Currently, that one that pops into my mind is Antilogy's Heritage Spotlight, which is spotlighting the different sort of cities and organizations and cultures that are on the server. I know that the first one, and correct me if I say the name wrong because I am not entirely sure, one was Wolfstat, and that we have like a sort of ask me anything type sort of format. So what do you guys think about that and how that's sort of been playing out? And any thoughts for the future on how to go on that?
Gosh, I don't know. Naya, do you have anything?
I mean, I think it's really cool. I'm interested to see the little AMAs that they're going to be doing, and especially as all the cultures and additions and suggestions really get rolling, if it keeps
Definitely.
up.
I certainly can't wait to see how the backstories open up and how things are like behind the curtains are now kind of coming to light. I'm excited for that.
And especially with Wolfstat, I personally don't know a whole lot about that city and that culture over there, so I think it'll be really interesting to see that AMA happen. I'd be definitely sitting in for that.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's all pretty interesting. And there's tons of things happening around the server nowadays, in game and out of game. It's pretty great. And we've just transitioned. Well, recently we transitioned into 1.8, which is a great step. We were able to get everything all set up for that and work into that. So give me your opinions on the 1.8 aspect of the server and how these new items are coming about and how the new lore is going to be coming out soon. Are you guys excited for that, or what are your thoughts?
I have far too many thoughts to name. What about you, Dark? I'll let you start with that one.
Oh man, I cannot tell you how much the 1.8 update has improved my business just because of armor stands and stuff like that. It just makes it a lot more immersive and it gives me the ability to do my job a lot easier.
Right.
Another thing with the lore, I'm so just profoundly excited for the lore. There's such a hype train going on for that, and I cannot wait.
Exactly. We've also been playing a few tricks I see as April Fools just came around. We had the Spirit Blessed Opportunity thread that Mishcap posted. It was sort of a joke. A Spirit Blessed, if you didn't know, is someone who has been sort of they're granted. I don't know exactly how to put it, but they're like granted a gift by the divines, and they're blessed, and they have these different attributes and things like that. And we got the hype up for everybody, and then it was sort of an April Fool's joke, but it was also a release to know that things were coming in the future, and I think that was pretty funny. And there were several April Fool's threads around. There are plenty of things that are happening around the server that are going in a positive light, and one of those also is a new showcase that we're doing, that Solus Requiem has been working on, and it's the showcasing buildings around the server because we have so many great buildings on the server. And this month we've been looking at libraries, okay, and we have several libraries around the server, including Sill, and New Tambry just opened up one. And recently we had the Citadels showcase, which, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember who won. It was it Frost Guardian? No, it was not Frost Guardian. It was, well, anyways, it was a pretty great competition that sort of brought together people. So what are your thoughts on these new showcases?
I mean, for me, having at least with Erisina and Niah, I have characters that don't really explore Altera that much, so it's really awesome for me to be able to see these builds in a showcase way. So like I can't go there in character, so seeing them out of character in these showcases, it's really good and awesome to see the work put into these as well.
Yeah, I could not agree more with what Niah said. Maloki likes to knit in awkward places, and sometimes those awkward places have to do with me exploring. Some of them don't, but most of the time I see absolutely nothing. So it's just beautiful to be able to have this and be able to showcase people's work. It's wonderful.
And just for clarification, the Citadel that won was White Rock that's on the server. Sorry for that miscommunication there. So yeah, there are just plenty of things happening around the server with new cities, roleplay increasing. Everything's just been working out very nicely as we move on through, and it's been pretty great, and it's really growing. So as we move on through here, and we talked about the server news, we also have a few questions for you guys, which we like to have a little fun with. We like to talk that we have players submit for us to read to you. So we're going to start that off. I have a collection of questions that were asked by different players. So I'll start. We'll do this in this form, sort of. Niall will go first, and then Darkwolf, okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
So the first question is from Sankara. And his question is opinion on evil heathens with dark plans.
Bring them on.
Bring them on.
It's nice to see people throwing wrenches into other plans. It brings some excitement. So bring on the heathens with dark evil plans.
And what about you, Dark?
Being Darkwolf, I'd have to say that I am intrigued and a little bit worried, but mostly intrigued. And I certainly love seeing these things unfold out. So
Definitely. Our next question comes from Barbarian Gaming, player on the server, and he asks, what do you think of the political state of Altera? Now
Dark,
you can
is that
start.
what? Oh, okay.
Yep, you're starting now.
Cool. The political state, I don't know that much about the southern politics. My Niah character is more involved in some of the northern people. But I can see it definitely starting to pick up with the inclusion of Wolfstat sort of, coming into its own being. Tambry sort of becoming its own trade city. Then, of course, the Empire of Turia. It's just really interesting to see how players are working together to create this political atmosphere. So, I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, I'm not terribly involved, but definitely cool.
What about you, Dark?
just hearing about it on every side is just really, really interesting to watch, and I think that there's a lot of things to come that will be very, very interesting. And I just, I just love watching just political bouts happen. It's just
Right.
so fun. I think my total review in a couple words on the political state of Altera would probably have to be just outrageous.
Definitely. It's pretty crazy. So our next question comes from Dr. Patriot, and he asks, in the perfect world, would all Hollowworlders use the TeamSpeak server for their out of character communications?
This is really the first time I've been on TeamSpeak, so I'm not entirely sure on the answer for that one for me. What about you,
Okay.
Dark?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
In the perfect world, would all Hollowworlders use the TeamSpeak server for their out of character communications? Meaning that we would not use sort of the chats in game. In game would be simply roleplay only, and out of character communication would be over TeamSpeak.
Oh man, that would be absolutely wonderful. Just hearing voices is a lot better than typing things out, and having things said is a lot easier to understand than having
Yeah.
things written. And reading, sometimes a lot of things can be misconstrued, and I think that having that voice and emotion that's conveyed through TeamSpeak and stuff that provides us is just wonderful.
Okay. Our next question comes from Mishkat, and she asks, "Would you say there's more an emphasis on overreaching story arcs in Altera or single instance roleplay?"
Ooh, that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I can only speak for me on this one, but it's pretty much single instance for my characters. I'm very reactionary and go with what's happening at that time, though there have been like overall story arcs that have happened before as well. But I don't know. I would say single instance, but that's just me, really.
Mhm.
I'd have to agree with Naya. I'd have to say that in my personal experience, I think there's much larger emphasis on single instances.
Right. Now, we also have a few more questions from anonymous users, which I will state here. From Anonymous, which faction or house do you believe has the most potential in terms of power?
I'm afraid to answer because they're all so good. I don't know. I know I'm not sure how to say it, the Voyards or Lavoyards. They've always been sort of a big house, a big power. So I'm gonna go with that one for right now. But I don't do politics as well.
Right.
I'd have to say, just witnessing what I have, either Wolfstad or Tambry, just because being Lavillard, I've seen seen most of what they could bring to the table, and I think in terms of potential, I think that's what they could provide. So.
All right. Our next question comes from, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Ananur, I'm not sure. Do you believe that having chat channels for separate languages would be beneficial for roleplay and or immersion?
Okay, that's fun to think about as well. Um, I think if it was for the system we have at least right now with the little brackets and
Would be
like designating the
beneficial
language
for
you're speaking in, I
roleplay
think
and
it works rather well.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I think the way it is fine for me, but
Right.
that's just me.
I have to totally agree. I think this current system we have is working perfectly fine for me. So if it does happen, or if it doesn't happen, I mean, I won't mind. I'll probably get used to it. So.
Our next question comes from Antilogy, and he asks, if there was one thing and one thing only you could change or tweak here on the server, what would it be and why?
What about you, Dark, while I sit here and think about my answer?
Oh God. Goodness. Hmm.
It's a difficult question.
Yeah. It's difficult to answer.
Would you like me to come back to it while you guys think on it a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's a
Okay.
tough one.
All right, I'll come back to it. Okay, this is from Anonymous. Okay, just for background clarification, the Nicam are a sort of I wouldn't say cat race, but they are more of a feline type race for on the server that's sort of extinct. But the question asks, if you were in a cam, what color would your fur be?
Probably like a tabby cat orange, I guess. That's what I'm going for.
Uh huh.
Mine would probably be gray because I have a cat that's gray and it's really cute. So I feel attached to that.
Okay. And Patrick DXS asks, what would be your favorite thing about being on Hollowworld?
Sorry, what was the question one more time?
Sorry. What would be your favorite thing about being on Hollowworld?
For me, it's the stories that the players create. Even if I'm not involved in the stories and I just sort of hear about them out of character, I just love storytelling. It's why I do this in the first place. So that's probably my favorite part is just to listen to everything that's made up and sort of crafted together.
Okay. What about you, Darkwolf?
I definitely have to say just the community. It's probably a really stock answer, but it just, gosh, it's just so enchanting to just have like this community you can come to every day and just know you have friends and positivity that you can embrace, and it's a wonderful thing.
All right, perfect. So, are we ready to come back to that one question? If there was one thing and one thing only you could change or tweak here on the server, what would it be and why?
I would have to change the amount of time I spend on it, which would be just more because I miss so much when I log out. So that's my perfectly awesome answer.
Gosh, oh, that's also a really difficult question.
It is.
Hmm, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't
Server
think.
pretty perfect the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, there, of course, like most other things, there are small things that could be changed or tweaked, but that's perpetual. That's what always happens. But I mean,
Right.
it's honestly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that could be changed.
That's completely all right. Okay, so I think we've finished up our questions here. As we sort of wind down with this podcast, we're going to discuss a few more things. First is a couple threads that we've noticed and that we'd like to spotlight a little bit. The first thread we'd like to talk about is the upcoming Versus podcast, which will be hosted by myself and the Living Ghost on the forums. This sort of fun type, relaxed podcast that's going to be talking about different characters on Altera, sort of faced in battle scenes. So, what do you guys think about that?
I'm excited for that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I added Erisina as a joke, but still, the other characters, I'm really interested to see how you guys are going to take that.
yeah, definitely. I'm pretty excited too. What about you,
Like
Dark?
Naya, like Naya, I added my character as a joke as well, so I'm pretty interested in to see the matchups. I
Yeah, it's gonna
think
be
it'll be
pretty
fun.
fun. It'll be fun, and that will also be appearing on the YouTube channel once it is out. As we've discussed more, we've had the Players of the Month threads going on, which is pretty great. All the new showcases that are sort of coming up, and the new lore that's being released. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and with that, we also have great artwork and player-made things that are sort of happening. And one that I'd like to spotlight the most is Elza's current piece. She is a player on the server. She is an artist, and she has been just creating these beautiful, beautiful pictures. If you're watching the YouTube video now, you will see some of them show up on the screen here. But most of them here are just beautiful pictures. She's done some pictures of characters on the server, of the gods. So give me your opinion on her artwork. What do you guys think about it?
I'm speechless. Her work is just so fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was able to get a commission for Niah and Erisina, so I'm just so excited, and her work is just fantastic. But I could say that 20 times and it still wouldn't be so like absolutely true. It's just awesome.
And what about you,
Again,
Darkwolf?
I could not agree more with Naya. It's just everything she depicts is absolutely just jaw dropping. It's just I really hope she just keeps doing it. It's absolutely wonderful.
Pretty great. And with that, we are going to end this episode of the Hollow World podcast. We'd like to thank everybody for their continued support for these and for the continued support of the server. If you would like to whitelist for the server and you are just discovering this video for the first time, you can check the links below for information on how to do such. I'd like to thank both my guests, Naya and Darkwolf, for joining me today, and of course, my co-host and technical support, Rupa. I thank you very, very much. So I thank you both for coming along with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Of
Yes,
course.
thank you so much for having us.
All right, guys, you have fun and happy role playing.